Welcome to the Audacity. This is episode 2, and we are so excited to have you all here. Thank you so much to our subscribers. Thank you so much to our supporters on Patreon. We have lots of exciting things coming y'all's way. And if you don't know me, my name is Lisa. I go by YB Edit on here as well as on YouTube. And I have my amazing, incredible co-hosts with me today. We have Sovereign Woman.
Hello.
And we have Gwen.
Hey, y'all.
And today we're covering our second installment of women's issues around the world. We wanted to start with this 3-part comprehensive episode. So last week we covered just ways in which women have been abused and oppressed around the world. And we also talked about the male loneliness epidemic as a key threat to women. And this week, we are going to be covering the 4B movement and why more and more women are choosing to stay child-free. But before we get into that, let's have our tea time. Ladies, what's been on your mind this week?
So I know y'all seen that woman on Twitter who was trying to incite, I guess, violence between conservatives and Democrat. I can't think of her name right now, but basically she got on TikTok and was saying, "So I heard that the Democrat women who voted for Kamala are upset that we voted for Trump, and they're coming to jump us." And
What?
I'm like, what? Huh? What is she talking? So I did a video on it without even knowing anything about it, and the conclusion that I came to was that a lot of them have been losing their friends and family because of how they voted, and they just need some attention because I heard I don't know if her page got shut down, but I do know a bunch of people reported her for like inciting violence or misinformation or something. We could tell she was making it up. Like nobody said, and it literally goes against who Democrats are, in my opinion. And I'm saying just generally speaking. I'm not saying every Democrat is the same, but what I'm saying is typically Democrats like peace, and we want inclusion for everybody and universal health care, and we want everybody to be
Progress.
good. There's no way we're gonna come down to the South, because she was from the South somewhere. And she was doing her makeup, and she was like picking up bullets, trying to make it seem like she was, God. I didn't mean to do that. I meant to get my eyeliner. Like she was doing that type of shit. And saying women in the South are built different. If y'all come for us.
Cringe.
You could tell that they just wanted attention, number one. And you could tell that they are upset, I think, that we're not giving them the reaction that they were hoping for. Do y'all think that there are some of them that wanted Trump to lose so that they can have a reason to like start a war? And they're mad that it's not going to happen because he won. So now everything that happens from now on, they won't be able to blame anybody for it. They can't say the Democrats did this or Kamala did that, because now everything that's about to come down the pike is going to be on y'all side. Y'all voted for this, and they don't have anybody to blame now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I also feel like they're really mad because all the conservative men started coming out and like scheming on how they're gonna end up with liberal women anyway. And they were like, we're going to have to get better at lying. We're going to have to, do this and this. And the conservative women are trying to align themselves with men by doing what they think men like, which is violence against women. And it's like, I hate to break it to y'all, but the conservative men could have been marrying you this whole entire time. Like that was always an option for them. And now the fact that they're not like after y'all, I don't know. I just feel like they got offended by that, and they're trying to appeal to men, or like they're trying to appeal to men for protection, being like, oh, these liberal women, they want to, shoot us up. They want to hurt us.
Which is crazy.
Which is crazy because nobody said that. I mean, I did say that women should get guns on my TikTok, and this woman stitched me the other day, like a conservative woman, and she said that I was a cult leader and that I'm scary and all this stuff. And she's like, and it was like word salad, but she was like, the difference between like me and her is that like when I carry, I like concealed carry. So the only people that will know that I'm carrying are like the people that I'm in immediate danger from. And I'm like, what do you think I would be doing with a gun, or other liberal women would be doing with a gun? You think we're just going to be out here like what? Like,
is it that same lady that's been stitching your videos and saying the same shit? And it's just...
I was just about to ask that lady. I don't like her. She is obsessed.
Oh, that Lady J.
That's fan
that's her
behavior.
name.
Yeah.
Fan behavior.
Obsessed. When I tell you that woman
worst.
is obsessed with you, I think
Yeah.
she likes you. I think she's jealous of you. I think she hates you. I think she's just
Big feelings for sure.
like, oh my, she doesn't know how she feels about you. Like, she's confused. Every time she sees you on the timeline, she's like, I don't know if I want to fuck her. I don't know. I don't know if I want to beat her up. I don't know which one it is, but it's one of them. I'm so serious.
Stop. I'm going to have to lay down.
I am so serious. She's clearly jealous of you.
God.
I think that's the biggest thing is jealousy
Oh, yeah.
for sure. But
she's crazy.
I think if she had her way, she would beat you up first, and then she would try to fuck you. I'm so serious.
Put it on TikTok Live.
I wish you could see how hard Ryan's laughing right now.
I'm deadly serious though. Like, I really.
She's so weird.
The obsession.
Oh my God.
Oh God.
We love to see it.
But yeah, when we talk, for clarification for anybody that's listening, I mean, for y'all who are listening, we're telling women to get guns to protect ourselves from men in particular. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that there are not women out there that, you know, would want to incite violence and make up scenarios. We know that those women exist, but we're saying protect yourself from men. Men are most likely going to be the ones to harm you. So I always say we're scared to go outside at night because men exist, not because of some woman is going to
conservative women.
Unless that Lady J girl, unless she's coming after Lisa, then maybe. But other than that, you know, most women are not out to get other women walking down the street at night. I'm just saying.
I just think they want to play perpetual victim so bad. Like, they want everything to be about them.
I think so too.
And they're losing friends and family, and they don't have anybody to bitch to now.
Mm-hmm.
Because they hate being around each other. I think all day, every day. Like it's so much hate. You would get tired of being around somebody that's hateful all day. Even if you're that person, you will get tired of being around yourself that much. So they don't have their liberal friends and liberal family members to go to and complain. And there was another content creator on here. I can't think of who said it, but she was basically saying, liberals are fun. It's fun over here. They're boring over there. They have to dress a certain way. They have to pretend like they're into God. They have to like, she didn't say this, but I took it like they have to only fuck in the missionary position and they can't like do. No, she didn't say it, but I threw that part in. But they're so boring. Do you get what I mean? Like you have to live this boring life like you're doing the right thing all the time, and you come over at liberals and we like to party and have fun and enjoy life and listen to the birds sing in the morning and like it just get a kick out of like the small stop and smell the flowers if you will. And we have more things to talk about, better things to do, and I really feel like these women are just lonely. Their husbands definitely aren't paying them any attention. I don't see how they can, because you got all this time to get on social media and make up lies that liberal women are coming to jump you. You literally got too much time on your hands. And your husband clearly isn't showing you any attention. He's probably chasing a liberal woman, like you were saying earlier. And so, or in the DMs, lying and saying he voted for Kamala. That's what their husbands are doing, trying to get at other women.
I was going to say, Sovereign, you've talked about that. You should show them your DMs.
Oh my God. I would either end a bunch of marriages or kick up some dust.
Still an option.
It really is.
I don't want to be a target. So the only way I can
we got to keep you safe. Yeah.
The only way I can honestly see myself ever exposing like somebody's DMs is if they are directly flat out lying on me about something and it's costing me something. Like something there is doing harm to me. Then it's like, okay, well, here's the receipts. Outside of that, I don't really care. People can say whatever they want. Like, I'm not. I can't tell you how many times I got tagged from people letting me know that people were doing lives about me yesterday and the day before or whatever. And I'm like, I didn't go watch any of it because I don't care. But they can say whatever they want. Ain't nothing they can say that's going to change my mind on what I said about the Black women who've divested from either Black men or the Black community in general. You will not change my mind about it. So
that's on maintaining peace.
It is. And I said that. It's about self-preservation, and I care about preserving self.
Me too.
So therefore, I'm not putting up with bullshit, and I don't have to listen to it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to smell it. I don't care. Just keep it away from me.
How about you, Gwen? What's your tea?
So I saw that Matt Gaetz stepped down because his Venmo transactions to underage girls got exposed on Twitter by a user named, because this user named Amy et al., or her handle is like Peach of a Baby. And she just like exposed his transaction list on Venmo because it's public. You can just literally just go on Venmo, search up somebody. Well, I don't know if it still is to this day, but this particular thread had come out in 2020, and she just took screenshots and was like, Matt Gaetz seems to know quite a bit of underage girls, and like, so I think that's why he stepped down.
Do you have any of them to read? Because I remember they're really creepy. Like.
Yeah, well, let me get to the thing.
Matt Gaetz' wife. Let's see what she looks like.
Oh, I don't think he's married, is he?
Oh no, it says wife
he
is standing by her man.
I thought he was not married. So he was doing this while he was.
Most likely, they all do. Most of them, should I say?
Yeah. So they got married in 2021.
They kind of look alike, actually.
Yeah, they sure do.
That's not a good picture, but yeah, whatever. That's embarrassing, though. So here's the thing. Even women who are conservative or on that side, I still feel a teensy bit of empathy for them when their husbands are found out to have done something like this or have embarrassed them in some way. Because I do think a lot of these women know exactly who they married, but there are situations where some of these women probably don't have any idea what they're really doing. And I just, when I say what they're doing, what the men are doing behind their backs. And so there's always a part of my humanity, a part of me that's like, God, that's got to be devastating as this person's wife. You know, no matter what side you fall on.
Yeah.
It's real messed up. But at the same time, you know, it is what
I don't feel that bad. Yeah.
Just a team.
Just a little. Yeah.
Just a couple crumbs worth.
So I can't pull it up on my phone, but I linked it.
He sent over $10,000 in Venmo payments to 2 women. Jesus. Oh, I know his wife is just like, you took $10,000 and gave it to those whores.
That must be so humiliating to be a conservative wife on this Republican platform. It's just so full of shame and regret. Because it's like they ran on this whole thing of meritocracy for the longest time. Like, we're the party of pulling yourself up by the bootstraps and anybody can make it if you just work hard and all this other stuff.
Right.
And now they just appointed corruption, and then they have all these people who do not qualify for these positions. Like, who did they have for the Department of Education? It was this lady who...
Linda McMahon.
Yes.
Vince McMahon's wife, who is also under an investigation right now.
And they were the creators of WWE.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's who's going to head our Department of Education.
Yep.
So...
remember,
oh my God,
remember Ashley Madison when that documentary came out and the wife of the husband who owns it or runs it or whatever was so shocked that he was cheating too.
Yeah.
And it's like he literally built a career on husbands and wives cheating on each other, and you're surprised that your husband was a part of the, like, girl, really?
The leopards,
signs, the signs were there.
We need Francesca Ramsey. We need her Leopards Ate My Face song.
We do. Now, I do see something that says Venmo payments from Representative Matt Gaetz, Exhibit 8. Is that what you have, Gwen?
I think so. It was on Twitter, and that's all I was referencing, because this girl just exposed him, and this was like 4 years ago when she came out with this.
They got her name blacked out, but like the 2 from Matt Gaetz.
Yeah.
And 2, but it's all blacked out. And it's like card deductible, gift, reimbursement, tickets, refreshments.
There's also ones that are like, being my friend.
Oh my God.
Just because.
Awesome.
Yeah. Extra for you. Like, you're definitely.
Cartridges for what?
I think Venmo having that little tagline to where you can put what the money up there was for was such an underrated design.
Underrated. I definitely stalk people on the Venmo.
It's definitely caught so much so much slush funding on there, and I'm here for it.
I agree.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for the tea, ladies. We are going to go right into our B segment after this break. We're back and we're jumping right into our B segment. We have Sovereign Woman covering why women are choosing to be child-free and why we have dropping birth rates around the world. And then Gwen is going to talk about the 4B movement.
So I believe that more and more women have been paying attention to the downsides of motherhood because society has put forth this image that motherhood is like all you'll ever need in life to be happy and to have fulfillment. And over the years, women have watched, myself included, have watched so many women end up single mothers. So the whole marry before you carry thing, we found out that's a lie because so many women end up getting a divorce. So nowadays, it's basically like you're either going to be a single mother, a married single mother, or a divorced single mother. And so every woman is typically, for the most part, going to end up in one of those three categories or all three. And women are choosing themselves now. It's like, well, there's no guarantee that you're going to find Mr. Right. We were lied to about the fairy tales. There's no guarantee that you're not going to end up raising kids on your own. There's no guarantee that there's a village anymore. People are looking around. I remember on TikTok a while ago, a lot of millennials were saying, what happened to the grandmothers? That you know, back in the day when we were kids, our grandmothers used to have no problem watching us. And the Gen X generation are like, I'm not taking care of y'all kids. And so that's another reason why a lot of millennials look around and they're like, well, we don't have a village. So the village is gone. A lot of men are showing contempt and disgust and disinterest in raising their kids. So there's a lot of factors that I think go into women choosing to not have kids, which, of course, that goes into the declining birth rate. The cost of childcare is, from what I'm understanding, the cost of mortgages per month, per week. Can't afford that. The jobs. There's so many factors. I know for me, everything that I mentioned plays a part for me, but also being parentified for me played a big part. Growing up, having to babysit and all that stuff. It kind of robs you of your childhood to a certain degree. And it's like you don't have a choice when you're younger, but once you become an adult, it's like, well, I have a choice now. I'm not having no kids. Point blank, period. I think that's more so the women's side of things. But if you look at globally, the economy, the way the world is headed, like there's so many things going on. Women are starting to realize the male's misogyny. Like before, a lot of us suffered from internalized misogyny. And we didn't know it. But with apps like TikTok and YouTube, we can all get together and talk about our experiences. And now we're realizing that we're not alone. And a lot of us in many ways are experiencing the same things. And so that helps women to come to that conclusion as well. You know, I think I'd rather travel. I think I just want to get married and be a dink, dual income, no kids couple. Absolutely. That's what I am too right now. But yeah, so there's so many other options out there, and you just kind of pick up on the fact that there's so much more to life than just, you know, and I don't want to say just being a mom as if that's not a very important job, but I'm saying like there's other things that people want to do. And we're realizing that that's not the only path to happiness and fulfillment. As a matter of fact, for some of us, that would be like the fast track to misery town. You know, not everybody wants that responsibility. I think being a mother is like the most important job on the planet. Like you are literally producing future generations. It's just how society is going to look in the future is going to depend on the kids that you birth, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't want to take that away from them. But some of us know, hey, I don't want that job and I don't want that responsibility.
I think a lot of women too have realized that if you're going to do it at all, you might as well do it with the mindset that you're gonna do it alone.
That's the advice my mom told me.
I think a lot of women are like, if I would have had to do it alone, then I don't really want to do it. So guess I'll just live for myself. And the men are like, what? What do you mean?
What a concept.
Yeah. My mom told me not to have a baby unless that's what I want.
Yeah.
Because be prepared to do it alone. And if you're not prepared to do it alone, don't have a kid. And that's
Yeah.
advice I will take with me throughout my 30s.
Mm-hmm. And also, don't have more kids than you would be able to afford to take care of on your own. Because I watched a lot of women in my family have a bunch of kids because the man wanted 5 kids or 7 kids or whatever. And then it's like once they get bored with you or once something happens or they die in a car accident or something happens, you're going to be the one taking care of all those kids by yourself. So if you know if something were to happen to your husband or you guys got divorced or whatever, if you know that realistically you could only afford 1 kid or 2 kids, don't have 6, don't have 4, don't have 7. That's another thing that women need to kind of get out of their mind, which is don't let a man tell you how many kids you want. But a lot of women fall into that trap because they're like, well, it's my husband and I got to make my husband happy and I got to give him what he wants. And I'm like, okay, you go right ahead.
I think a lot of women view it as a compliment too.
They do.
They're like,
and
he
it's
wants
so
to have
sad.
kids with me. And it's like, well, yeah, of course he does. Wouldn't you want to have kids with everyone if you just had got to do the fun part? Like,
absolutely. If you get to be the dad.
Yeah.
Like you were telling us
uncle.
last week. Yeah.
Yeah.
The funkle. Or like just, it's almost like you're a child that wants a puppy, knowing full well like the mom is just going to be the one to take care of it. It's going to pick up after it, pick up all the poop, wipe away all the mess, put all the stuff back, take it all to the vet appointments, pay for the vet appointments while you just get to like cuddle with it and have fun times and just walk it maybe, unless mom's doing that too. And like you're just getting to do like the easy part.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's what fatherhood looks like to me, and it looks nice. Like I would want to be a father too. Like that makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
I would want a kid if I thought like I didn't have to like carry it or go through labor and delivery or 9 months of pregnancy hell and like all these hormones and
The breastfeeding.
The morning sickness. God, a lot of the women in my family suffered from hyperemesis gravidarum, which is like severe morning sickness. They just like can't keep anything down, and you just lose a lot of weight in your pregnancy.
And doesn't it last like throughout your whole pregnancy too?
Your whole pregnancy, and like their teeth kind of like fall out because they're throwing up so much. And
awesome.
Yeah, the joys of pregnancy.
That's another thing. A lot of women are like, I don't want to put my body through that.
Mm-hmm.
So
now that
be a no for me.
Because I was like, I never really could like, wrap my mind around like pregnancy and like giving birth until, and I'm so glad that we have the internet because that's the only way I would have found out because nobody tells you otherwise. Mm-hmm. But I was like on there just reading threads, by women who have given birth. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm never, ever, 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 ever doing that.
Yeah. Have you seen that woman on TikTok with the list?
The list, the girl with the list.
I was just thinking of her. Zoomy. I follow her.
Love her.
I do too.
For
He's
women,
doing the Lord's work.
Right. For all the women out there who are listening and don't know what the list is, it's a TikTok user of somebody who has compiled a list in their phone of all the reasons why, or like all the possible like complications of pregnancy. And the list just goes on and on and on and on.
And one more thing too, the main group of people that we're hearing don't have kids from are the mothers themselves. Mm-hmm. So even though we get a lot of backlash from mothers, child-free women get a lot of backlash from men and women, mothers and fathers, or would-be fathers. But we also get a lot of support from mothers. And those women are the ones that are very honest about the realities of motherhood. And they are the first ones to say, hey, if you are even having doubts, don't do it. If you don't think you want it, don't do it. If you haven't met the right guy, if you're not in a financial position to do it, don't do it. So hearing it straight from the horse's mouth is very important, especially since back in the day, coming out and talking about your regrets of motherhood or the things that are hard about it or whatever was very taboo. Women suffered in silence. They did not want to talk about how hard it was because they felt shame, or they felt like they would be shamed, or they felt like they were doing something wrong because they were like, wow, why am I feeling like this? They told me I was going to be happy, but I wake up miserable every day, or I cry, or I don't have any help, or whatever the situation is individually. And hearing women come together and talk about it. And even though in Russia, remember in Russia, they were they're fining women now for speaking about being child free, which that's not going to stop anything, in my opinion. But it's us getting together and having these conversations, and women realizing that they have a choice that's absolutely contributing to the birth decline, like globally. That's a huge part of it.
And at the same time, it's probably contributing to men trying to bring back the laws, the laws that can force us.
I think it's going to backfire, though. I really do.
It will. I was going to say earlier that how I met one of my friends in Taekwondo, her name's Carmen. Hopefully I'll have her as a guest on here eventually. She's so funny. So like we were just kind of like practicing in our dojang, and she gets a text message from her kids, and she just like rolls her eyes and she's like, oh, don't have kids. She's like, do you have kids? Don't have kids. And like, I feel that.
Yeah.
I often hear that from a lot of my friends who have kids. They're just like, don't ever have kids. And they might be saying it even as a joke, but like I feel the pain behind their eyes.
Absolutely.
I think it's very hard to like really comprehend to another person like how much of a responsibility kids are, especially when you are like living in suburbia, like far away from your parents, like nobody's there to help you. There's no village, all that. It's a lot. Like people suffer from very real sleep deprivation, and it has all kinds of impacts on their life. So I think people really mean that when they say it.
And a lot of parents don't think that some child-free women, they don't think that we understand, like, because I hear them trying to explain that they love their kids very much, but they regret the job of motherhood. And they don't think we understand. I absolutely understand that. I get how two things can be true at once, right? You love your kids. They're here. You probably can't even imagine them not being here now that they exist. But a lot of them say, if I could do it over again, I don't think I would do this. Or I absolutely would not do this, or whatever. But they love their kids. That's another reason why a lot of parents didn't want to come out and still don't. They don't want to come out and speak about this online or, out loud, I would say, is because they don't want their kids to hear them say, don't have kids, or if I could do it all over again, I wouldn't. At least not until their kids are old enough to understand what that means. But all of these things, to me, contribute to the birth decline. Of course, the economy, people not being able to afford the basic things in life, like a loaf of bread, or a dozen eggs costing $10, and just so many little things that you have to think about. Like, if I can't afford life, I definitely can't afford, everyday life. I mean, I definitely won't be able to afford to have kids, especially not multiple kids. But there's just not a really good reason for a lot of us. Like, what would be the good reason to have kids, especially now? There's really no legitimate reason.
I feel like there's just no hope. And I was gonna say that if y'all are on Reddit, there's a subreddit called r/regretful parents. And a lot of what they talk about, like they preface that part with like, I love my kid and I only want the best for them. And then they go on into why like they feel like they regret having a kid. And a lot of it has to do with like finances, which is, I feel like, super obvious. But also some of the things that they talk about on there is like every time that there's a school shooting, they worry so much that one day it could be their kid. And it's like, God, what are we doing as a country and like as a society? Like, what are we, like, these kids, like, they just deserve so much better. Like,
I know.
I can't imagine being a parent in 2025 and you send your kid off to elementary school and God forbid you get that phone call that says that like there's been an incident at that school and you're like 20 miles away at your job and you're driving as fast as you can to get there because you think your child might not be one of the ones that made it. Like, that is so horrific. And my heart goes out to all those people that have a loved one missing in Uvalde. And I don't understand, how this whole like small community can listen to the pain of all these parents that have come together and talked about their kid, and like they're trying so hard to pass gun legislation to limit the amount of people who can get guns if they've had like certain infractions in their background checks. But I digress. It's like I just don't understand how as a community you can listen to these parents just beg for anybody to care, and then you still just vote against their interests and against any kid's future. And that's just one of the reasons why I've also chosen to remain child free, is just because unless I flee this country and give this kid like a private boarding school education in like France or something, or Europe, where the people there are actually a little bit more salient than here, in my opinion. It's just like, I don't know. I don't see the point in putting a kid through this education system here, especially because they're going to gut the Department of Education. So.
Yeah, and I think too, like even this conversation shows like why men are still like, no, I'd have a kid, because the mental load lies on women. Like the justification all lies on women. Like women are the only ones like thinking about these things, you know?
Absolutely.
Like I also think it's a huge slap in the face that daycare costs so much. Meanwhile, men have been calling it staying at home and playing with the kids.
Oh my God.
And then imagine like this whole time you're like, oh, I thought it was just playing with the kids. Shouldn't these daycare workers be paying me to play with my kids? You know what I mean? That's what men have been making it sound like.
Just women that understand the psyche of these guys absolutely contributes to why would I want to have kids with men who think that way? I mean, you're really just setting yourself up for failure at that point. If you know that guy is, and don't get me wrong, I don't think every woman knows. I think most women believe that the guy that they have kids with is going to be hands-on and he's going to be there. He's going to be this wonderful dad. Sometimes there are signs that the guy isn't. Like, for an example, I'm just going to pick on somebody that's famous, Future or Nick Cannon.
Right.
Those women knew exactly what they were getting themselves into. So I don't have a lot of empathy for them. I just have empathy for those children, you know? So, sometimes you don't know that your dad isn't, that your child's father, they're not going to be hands-on, they're not going to help you. But if you are choosing to have a kid with a guy who already has 7 kids or 10 kids by like 10 different women, you know that he's not in 10 different homes at one time. So you kind of know he's not going to be the best dad or even an involved dad. So women set themselves up for failure that way. But the ones that lie and pretend, oh, I'm going to be there, I would never leave my kid, I'm going to be hands-on, women fall for that. And then you find out that you were wrong. And for me personally, that was one of the major deciding factors for me. Like, I would never take that chance. Because sometimes you just don't know. And it's a risk. You're literally playing, it's like crapshoot. You're playing a game of roulette. And for me, it's just not worth it.
And that brings us into the topic of the 4B movement, which is one of my favorite things to talk about. But I think Gwen is really good at discussing what the 4B movement is all about.
Let's go, Gwen.
Yeah. Hey, all right. So the 4Bs, it's become rather popular, and to the best of my abilities, I'll tell y'all how it got started. So like there was this incident in Condom Station 2016. A man just randomly stabbed a woman to death. And it turns out that the two people did not know each other. And when they asked why he did it, he just said he hated her for ignoring him. But it was not considered like a hate crime or misogynistic by officials, which sparked a lot of anger in Korean women. So there were many responses to this, but this is kind of where and when the 4Bs got talked about the most. There's been other variations upon the 4Bs on this that I encourage y'all to just Google about it, but I'll just stick to the 4 to keep it short and simple. So the 4Bs consist of 4 simple rules. That's it. They are 비섹수, 비출산, 비연애, and 비혼. We can kind of understand where the B part comes from. So the P is actually a Chinese character that means not to do. So translated, they are no sex with men, no having kids, no dating men, and no marrying them. So on the front of it, it sounds rather drastic and extreme, right? You see all these glamorous K-dramas and the men are super respectful, they're swoon-worthy, romantic, but just this cannot be further from the reality for those women. So in real life, Korean culture is still extremely misogynistic, despite what K-pop enjoyers would say. And don't let this accent fool y'all. For those that are new here, I'm Asian, and that's why I'm speaking on this. So as someone with family from Korea and a witness to some of my own culture, I can actually be the one to confirm for y'all out there that yes, there is still work to be done in terms of equality, and that is how Korean women just have chosen to do it. Korean women are fed up. They're tired of not being valued. So all their lives, they're told that having children is important and it's an honor, but then they're punished financially for it. They lose their jobs after they have kids. They're abused. They're disrespected. So the feminists over there have been persecuted to such a degree they've lost their jobs, and some have even been attacked and killed for reporting on the violence that women face. Korean court systems still overwhelmingly favor rapists a lot more than they favor women, even when they have irrefutable evidence. Schoolgirls are bullied to such an extreme that there's actually a fair bit of representation of that in K-dramas, but not near as graphic. So what's happened is that too many schoolgirls as young as ages of like 11, 12, 13 are being blackmailed into sending these older boys pictures of themselves. Then they get spread around. And Korean culture is really conservative, like as is. So they already just blame the victims, which can be life-ruining for these poor girls to have everyone turn on them. So they end up killing themselves. And
Oh my God.
yeah. And lately, what's been circulating from Korean Twitter is that men have learned how to take pictures of girls' faces from social media and make fake AI porn of them, and then that gets circulated around online, which ruins, more girls' lives. They fought back, but it's a slow process to make legislation against relatively new technology. So it's an uphill battle for those girls over there. And it's also here, us too, in the United States. Like that happens to girls here too.
I was going to say, and we're still working on legislation for that, aren't we?
We are. I think Texas is getting some worked up, but I think it should be federal.
Absolutely.
Also being reported are these chat rooms of young women, family members being secretly recorded in areas where they should feel safe, like their showers, their bathrooms, bedrooms, living rooms, by their own brothers or fathers, stepbrothers, cousins, or whatever. People they should just be allowed to feel safe with in their own homes, and they can't. They've just been reporting about that on Twitter constantly, so I felt like that should be covered. These have been reported to Telegram, and they have yet to respond as of 2024. So these aren't isolated cases because these chat rooms, or they're called nth room scandals, spelled with an N-T-H, room scandals, so y'all can Google that. They can have upwards of about 6 figures per little chat room. So it's not just schoolgirls, it can be celebrities and children who have been exploited, of which the details I'm not going to go into. They also have a major hidden camera problem too. Like men will hide cameras in women's public bathrooms, their dressing rooms, and any public with female-dominated spaces in general. Or they'll take their phones and flip it upward so the camera's facing outward and just take pictures of women's skirts on trains. And it got so bad that phones manufactured in both Japan and Korea can't have the shutter sound off or muted. So you know how
Oh, yeah.
when you have the sound on, you can hear the camera sound. It goes, shh.
Wow.
So they have to have that on at all times over there. So they remove that ability in the settings to where you can mute it. So you can't do that over there.
Wow. That is
The lengths we
terrible.
have to go to.
That was their response to all that happening. Also, they also did segregated like trains. So they have the girls train and they have boys train.
Yeah. And is it the same country that like I saw a video of like a bunch of men getting on a women's train, and then as they were coming out, people were like hitting them. Like women were like
I
beating
think that
them
was
up.
India because I think
Oh,
India has
okay.
that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was great.
But what Korea does have is they have like a little pregnancy section on trains to where pregnant women can sit comfortably. So it's reserved specifically for them. But men will just take up those spaces just because they hate them so much.
I don't understand the way a lot of men think. Like, if you don't, I don't know. I don't.
It's not about anything but power. It's really not. It's
Yeah.
when you try to make sense of it in any other way, it doesn't make sense. Because it's like, oh, if you want to get with women, like you hate women for not getting with you, just be nice to them, right? But they don't want the women that want them or something. Like it's all about like domination or conquering or.
So patriarchy is very much affluential in our culture over there, just because how do I put this? So sometimes whenever you are going to marry a man, the in-laws want to like interview you first.
Yeah.
So they want to make sure you can like cook and you can clean the house and you're like a good just almost like a mommy being made to their son.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, and they can reject you based upon whether or not they think you are good enough for their son. And that's not, and if you watch K-dramas, like you can kind of see that reflected in there sometimes. And I just want to say, like, that's not all to do with K-drama. That's also sometimes a real thing. It's become less as, you know, society has progressed over the decades, but that used to very much be a thing for Korean women, and it could still very well be. But most of my family members here are Korean Americans, and they didn't really have to put up with all that. So I'm very
So
grateful.
is there something in place for the opposite, where the men have to go under some kind of strenuous?
Oh yeah, so they have to be able to prove that they can provide, that they have a stable job, because they're gonna look at you sideways if you say, "Oh, mom, I met a man and he just works as a mechanic," or not to say like those jobs are not well paid, but you know, you get where I'm coming from,
Yeah,
like
I
a
do.
low paying job, and you kind of have to just, you know, fight your way to your parents' approval of why you're dating this man. But if you say like, "Oh, mom, I'm dating a doctor," or, "Mom, I'm dating a lawyer," like they love that, and then
Mm.
that is like, yeah, let's set up a dinner date. Like, we'd love to meet your boyfriend. Let's have dinner and introduce us. And it's really usually very sweet. But that's just, you know, the extent of it. It's just like, can you provide?
So it is very much like an exchange, like transactional.
Yeah.
I just think that's so sickening. I've never liked. I understand like vetting, using your parents to like help you vet, but as far as like, I don't.
Yeah, it's definitely like a way that women get oppressed for sure.
That's still kind of a thing over there for women, that whenever they're dating, in order for their parents to kind of like approve, it has to be with a man that is of good financial standing or social standing, so that they feel like their daughter is safe and can just kind of approve of their relationship.
It don't seem like it works out that much though, huh? Because if all these women over there are trying to like get away
Yeah.
from the men, so it's like,
Yeah.
how much did that really work?
I don't know. I just know that parental approval it accounts for a lot over there. Like it means
It's like not anyone's problem after that though, right? Like it's kind of how it's similar in like Slavic culture. It's kind of like, well, you got married, now you just stay married, like it doesn't matter. And don't tell anybody about your problems because
Nobody
it like
cares.
doesn't matter. Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody cares.
yeah, that's a thing there too.
yeah.
That is just. I will never be able to wrap my mind around the ways in which humans treat each other, how the stuff that they come up with, like this is the rule, this is what has to happen. Like who decided this? Like who decided any of this? Like I just don't. I have such a hard time with trying to understand it. It's just.
That's why I don't understand misogyny as a concept, because like I don't know what women could have ever done at any point in time in our history to deserve such backlash and hatred and
Exist.
oppression.
Be more powerful.
Exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just
Be
it's like-
actually valuable.
yeah. And
That's
even
what
when
we
they do all
did.
these things, like they're doing everything that is asked of them. Like women worldwide, like they're having babies. They're, you know, serving the patriarchy. They're accepting their roles, and still like they're relegated to such a small position in their society, and they're told like what they can and can't do, can and can't wear, or even speak too much in public. Like it's so sad. I'm not saying this is Korea, by the way. Just like maybe in places in the Middle East, like Afghanistan, when we talked about that before.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
boils down to men not seeing women as human. That's the basis of it. Because it's easier if I just see you as a servant, somebody who does this for me, who does that for me. Seeing a woman's humanity, in many ways, it would nullify all of those. So like, if you see a woman as human, in their minds, you can't get all your needs met. You can't require anything from her because she's human. You're going to see her humanity. You're not going to say, go work 16 hours and then come home and still cook me dinner and still suck my dick and then still make sure the kids are good. And still, like, if you saw her as human, you wouldn't be able to get those things done because you wouldn't require her to stretch herself so thin. But it's easier for them to expect all of those things from women because they don't see a woman's humanity.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah.
But back to the 4Bs, the Korean government's like inaction on handling all these cases of the hidden cameras, the AI, the scandal rooms. Whenever women are trying to report even their own family members of heinous crimes, like they always just don't take their side, don't take their word for it, and they're dismissed just as much as we are here in America. So they're just kind of fed up with it. So they're in action, and that lack of swiftness and urgency to protect these girls is just a few of many reasons why Korean women have conceded and just given up on men. So if y'all Western women out there want to join that movement, you got to understand, like, you can't sugarcoat it, and you can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I know it's especially a difficult path to follow when you're young and still curious about dating, because you can't hop on this 4B bandwagon if you got a boyfriend or you're dating, because them's the rules, and there's literally only 4. I don't want hetero women to feel excluded, because we're all sisters under this patriarchy, and it's dangerous enough being attracted to your natural predators without icing the majority of our listeners out. So if you can't commit to all 4 rules, that's okay. I need you to know it's okay.
Yes.
Not everything has to be made for every single person out there. It can just be its own thing. And there are small radical changes you can do by yourself to support the 4B women in your life.
Absolutely.
And other like radical feminists. And what I mean by that is just like pour back into women whenever and however you can, and as often as you can. Lift each other up. That same solidarity men have for dudes they barely know out there, like, is the type of solidarity we can learn from. Support women-owned businesses, join feminist communities, join nonprofit organizations, thrift at thrift stores ran by women's shelters, and there's quite a few usually in major metropolitan cities. All proceeds go to women in need, and you get cool new clothes. Donate your used clothes there too. If you're in the service industry, serve women first. Even if their drinks take longer and all men ask for is beer, just do it. And it drives men fucking crazy because they hate that shit. And even when I was like, oh, Southern hospitality, ladies first, and trying to get their orders first and being polite, they hated it. They would give so much attitude, and then they would just kind of roll their eyes. And the women, though, they would engage a lot more with me, and we would just have full-on conversations at times, and they would just feel so iced out and isolated, and they just sink into their phones in the corner or watch the game, zone out for a bit.
Right.
Small changes make big differences in women's everyday lives. Work small and just get bigger.
I was just going to use this as an opportunity to plug Operation FemFreeze, and I really would encourage y'all to check it out, especially if you are not part of the 4B movement. Like, at this point in time, all 3 of your hosts are not part of the 4B movement. I want to make that clear so that there's no confusion. We support women who do the 4B movement. We are in very big support of decentering men. But if you are not able to do that, or if that's not your path, that's totally fine. And even the women associated with the 4B movement in South Korea, they were interviewed recently in a Rolling Stone article, and they acknowledged that American women will probably want to have sort of their own version of this movement that encompasses intersectionality into it, because South Korea is largely a racially homogenous country. And so it's kind of hard to copy and paste movements like that straight across the board. And even like I said, this was a woman who was involved with the 4B movement being interviewed for the Rolling Stone. And she said that that's where it will probably end up, because even all the way from South Korea, they can see that we have different needs over here across the pond. Like, we have lots of different issues we're dealing with on top of that. We also have a very visible LGBTQIA community that I think it could be a good ally to us in this movement. And so that's where the whole like men versus women thing is. We just need to have a little bit more nuance. So with that in mind, we started this organization called FemFreeze. It's spelled FEMMEFREEZE.org. That's our website. And we will be having the founder and organizer of this movement, Shar Henley, on at the beginning of December. And she will tell you all about the movement and like how you can join, how you can help. But for now, if you can go on there and put your name down in the contact section, and if you are able to donate as well, that would be amazing.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah. So the 4B just isn't end all be all of a movement. In fact, it's actually really small over there in Korea. Like, Korean women don't talk about it too much, and it's almost hush hush. mostly because they're persecuted, first of all.
Mhm.
Even if they just have short hair and they're walking about their day, they get accused of being a feminist, and some man will just like run up on them and beat them half to death. And it took a
That's
while
horrible.
for one of them to get persecuted and put in court and tried and all that, because he did that to this one girl, and she finally pressed charges, and it finally got called what it is, and that's a misogyny or hate crime. It's first of its kind. I'll have to link that somewhere.
Wow.
It's small over there, but hopefully it gains traction with the support of the sisters in the West who've jumped on this trend and just have nothing but love and respect for our unis and our sisters over there. So we're very proud of you, and we just want to support you. Yeah, so work small and get big. Like, ladies, just reach out to the women in your lives, show them some love, some appreciation, ask how you can, be a more like a better ally to the women in your life, and just water the ground around you and let it turn into a garden that gives back. Sometimes it's not about what the 4Bs can do for you, but what you can do for the 4Bs, like what you can do to support them.
Right.
Turn the 4Bs into 2 simple questions for my hetero girlies. How does this benefit me, and how does this benefit women as a whole?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Gwen. That was great.
Can I add just a few little tidbits to the 4B movement? I wanted to
Please
address some myths that people have about the 4B movement. The first thing that I hear a lot of people say on social media is they think that women are joining 4B to punish men. Now, it's not to say that there are not individual women out there who probably believes that if they act on the 4B movement, it's going to cause their man to act right or whatever. But that's not generally what the 4B is. It is not a way to punish men. Okay, that is just women who no longer want to engage with or waste their time and energy on men. That's it.
Mhm.
Like, it really just boils down to that. Another thing is it's only filled with unattractive women who can't get men to commit to them. And
They wish.
And they try to discredit the movement by saying that people can believe whatever they want, but it is normal for people to shun you when you go against the societal norms. That kind of backlash is very expected, regardless of what you think women are in 4B for. The result will still be a declining birth rate, as well as more men becoming dry-peened and angry. That's the one thing that we know, that no matter how you look at the 4B movement, it's going to end the same way. The outcome is going to be the same. Overall, I just want to say women just want to be safe and stay alive. Like, there's no point in wasting time with males if they're not getting any reciprocation. Did I say that right? If it's not going to be a reciprocal relationship, women just don't want to be bothered anymore. And I also don't. There's a lot of people, even women, have said that the 4B won't work because it's too many women that won't participate. Now, I want to point out that this is not about it necessarily working. I feel like y'all are missing the point again. This is an individual choice. It just so happens that a lot of women are realizing that many other women, like all around the world, are kind of on the same type of time. Thus, it becomes a movement. Because so many women feel the same way around the same time. In this section of human history, women are like waking up, if you will, around the same time. And that's what makes it a movement. But it's really an individual choice. The women who choose to disengage from males are most likely to be safer in general, just generally speaking. It doesn't mean that you're going to be 100% safe, but it just means that you will be safer in general dealing with men. Because after all, the most dangerous person in a woman's life has always been and will always be her significant other. So if you're single and you're not laying next to anybody and you're not giving anybody direct access to you, your chances of being bothered. Not saying you won't be harassed in the streets or harassed pumping your gas or whatever. Guys are still going to do that. But when we think about the horrific things that happens to women in general, it's typically a spouse, unfortunately, or a baby daddy, or some man who she lays next to at night in general. And some women are like, it's actually safer for me to just be single for whatever reason. But I just wanted to close with that. It is an individual choice for each woman, and every woman who wants to be a part of the movement has to approach it with her own goals in mind, your own individual needs, or it'll be coming from your own individual perspective. So
Absolutely. So well said.
Mhm.
Oh, one more thing. To the women who care so much about women joining 4B, I really want to know why y'all care so much, because if more women are taking themselves out the game, doesn't that mean that that's less competition for you? Shouldn't you be happy that more women are leaving the men? No, I'm serious. There
I feel
are
like
women
they-
out there who are mad.
question.
And I'm like, what are you mad for? That doesn't
Is
make
it
sense
because
to me.
they know that like men only want women that don't want them?
That could be it.
It's the exotic bird theory.
Yeah.
Y'all remember that thing that Trevor Noah was talking about? How his mom was just this fantastic woman, and his dad tried so hard to get her. And maybe it's a quote. Let me pull it up.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might know where you're talking.
But I feel like that's why other women might be mad. They're like, damn it, it's just gonna send the men like away from us still. Scarcity mindset.
That's weird though. I would be glad that more. Yeah, I guess so. If you know
Yeah.
that the men want what they can't have,
Yeah,
they're
if you're
still not
if
going
you're
to pay you
male
any
centered.
attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's only male centered women that would even have a problem with this in the first place, in my opinion. A woman who doesn't care about men one way or the other, they do not give a damn about what the next woman is doing. The only time we would care about other women in that way is if what they're doing is putting themselves in danger. Like you're constantly going on dating apps and meeting these men for the first night or bringing them to your house within the first week of meeting. If you're doing ridiculous things like that, then we might be like, girl, you need to, I got a problem with that. You need to be safe. Outside of that, don't nobody give a damn. And I'm like,
It's giving the whole like conservative women think that liberal women are out to get them with guns or whatever. Like,
oh, that was another
it's
thing.
like the same. It's like the same, right? It's like they're just, how am I the victim in this?
That was another thing I forgot to mention earlier, was the other thing they was accusing us of. The liberals were coming after their husbands.
Yeah.
Not the husbands are going after the liberals, the liberal women who don't even like conservative men, by the way.
I was going to
We
say,
can't stand them, but we're coming after your husbands. But okay.
Oh my God.
I digress.
Yeah.
Sorry, I found it. So
Thank you.
he said Abel wanted a traditional marriage with a traditional wife. For a long time, I wondered why he ever married a woman like my mom in the first place, as she was the opposite of that in every way. If he wanted a woman to bow to him, there were plenty of girls back in, forgive me if I'm saying this wrong, Zenin, being raised solely for that purpose. The way my mother always explained it, the traditional man wants a woman to be subservient, but he never falls in love with subservient women. He's attracted to independent women. He's like an exotic bird collector, she said. He only wants a woman who is free because his dream is to put her in a cage. Like, damn. Gospel.
That's deep.
That was.
I always wonder, why are they like that? Why are they like that? Just get a bird that's in a cage already.
That's not That's not fun though. Not fun.
That's true. It's not. I get it.
All right. Well, thanks so much, y'all. We'll be back right after this break to jump into our mailbag.
Yay.
All right, everybody, let's get into our mailbag. We have our very, very first mailbag, and this question is for the Sovereign Woman. Well, this is just a huge fan of the Sovereign Woman, so shout out
Oh, cool.
to Sovereign.
Okay.
They say, hello from the UK. I would like to know how we can befriend and connect with other women who are on board with this movement. I believe that they are referring to the 4B movement. I tried messaging people on TikTok, but everyone is in different countries and have usernames, so it makes it difficult to connect in person. Also, how can we filter out the pick-me girls so that they don't sneak into our spaces? So I believe the movement they're referring to is just maybe feminism or maybe the 4. I hope that people know, once again, that we are not quite part of the 4B movement. We support.
I don't think a lot of people know that I'm no longer, because when I got on TikTok, when I started YouTube and TikTok, I started TikTok in January of this year. I was single, and
So
I
if you
talked a
don't
lot
know.
about, Yeah, I talked a lot about being 4B, and like my relationship just literally happened. Like I was not expecting, in my mind, I was going to be single forever. So it just didn't turn out that way because, the way I feel is it took me 40 years to like come across this particular guy. That's the best way for me to describe it. It's like, okay, well, maybe I'll give this one more shot and then that's going to be it if it doesn't work. So a lot of people are not aware, but I still do support 4B very much. I will always support it. There will never be a time in my life where I would not support the 4B movement. So you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to take everything any content creator says as like gospel. The decision to be a part of 4B is very individual. Like I was saying earlier, it's a movement. It's only a movement because so many women all over the world are on the same page.
So many women are doing it without the title. Like
many women have been doing it before they even knew that it was called 4B or whatever, right? So
it was just called separatism.
Yeah.
It was it's called like a black pill separatist thing on Twitter that got started a while back. And there's actually a few accounts that still follow me for some reason. And I follow them back because I will always support what they have to say. There's some accounts that are noteworthy, in my opinion, that have a lot of these spaces that I think this person is looking for.
Cool.
Without trying to be like, join Twitter and do that, no. I mean, they have these like little rooms. Let me try to find this account. I think it's called Sista Separatist. Shout out to her. She's actually really cool, and I love following her stuff. She'll have like these communities on her Twitter that you can join and just like chat with other like-minded women who may or may not be part of the 4Bs, but they have like similar like core tenets of their little movement that they got going on. And I don't mean to say little as in like I'm belittling them or being condescending, but they have their own sort of version of separatism that is mostly for lesbians and women who just want to feel safe in that space, because it's been my feed that these lesbians have gone onto their dating apps and have found men on there, and they're just tired of it, and they just don't. Yeah,
God.
I feel them, and yeah, definitely if you have like a space that y'all want more women in, and definitely join Sister Separatist groups on her Twitter if you can.
The Sovereign is cracking up so bad.
Because I seen a meme of that. Somebody posted like a meme of the types of men in like drag makeup that were on lesbian dating sites pretending to be women. And it's not funny. So I'm goofy. So it was funny to me, but it wasn't funny that this is what they're going through. To the ones that are serious about like trying to find love. But it was just like, these men will stop at nothing. Like now they're taking over lesbian dating sites. You know what I mean? Like it's just.
Meanwhile, there's like conservative women ready to submit like around every corner apparently. And like they're still after like the women that are like, we're not into men. And they're like, no, but how about me in a wig though? Like, girl.
Oh my God.
You just haven't had the right one in a wig before.
Right.
Wait, let me change my color wig. I'm gonna wear a blonde one this time. Okay, now I'll wear a red one. Like what? I that's the only reason why I'm laughing. I'm not laughing at what some of them are going through. Because that's not fair. You turn somewhere for refuge or somewhere where you think is safe or whatever, only to be met with a bunch of bullshit. Like, so I'm not laughing at that part of it. Just the desperation
is like at this point, all you can do is laugh. Yeah. I would also like to say that there's lots of like women's hobby spaces where you will find a lot of women that have decentered men. I think there's, joining like run clubs or other like archery or doing things outside of the home, and like there's like crafting groups, there's just spaces where women that are naturally not prioritizing men in their life are going to go because they don't care what men think, but you're not going to find these like-minded women out at the club or like out, in a lot of spaces around you. Like if you're at college or something, that's probably not where you're going to find your your people.
You could probably find them more at like nonprofit organizations now that it's around the holiday times. You could probably donate or go to your nearest like food pantry area or like a food bank and just hang out with the women there and just talk to them for a bit. See what they're like. What's up with them, you know?
So the main takeaway for the 4B is that you would be doing it for yourself, for whatever that reason is.
Exactly.
The good part about it is you will look around and realize that you are far from being alone, because there are plenty of women that literally are on the same type of time. You know, you don't want to have kids, or you don't want to get married, or you don't want to engage with men at all. It doesn't mean you're a lesbian, because a lot of people think this is some kind of a lesbian thing, and I'm sure there are lesbians in the 4B, but this is strictly women who are like, I got better things to do with my life. I have better things to focus on. I'm not wasting my time, my energy on men anymore, or whatever. You're doing it for your own personal fulfillment or enrichment, safety, peace of mind, whatever it is for you individually. That is the takeaway. And that, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be a movement. It's just something that you're choosing to do, and you won't be by yourself.
I don't think whenever they created the 4Bs that it was meant to blow up as it has, especially being spread to the US. I think it was more just like somebody somewhere posted this as like a solution to all
just like
crazy
a
shit that's been happening.
manifesto.
Yeah, and then it just took off.
I know. And imagine, like, America has no chill when it comes to anything. So imagine seeing your movement like come to America, and like news stations are reporting on it and shit. Like, oh.
It goes to show you how many women have been feeling the exact same thing. Because if you're quick to jump on it, it's because you either consciously or subconsciously have already kind of been in that headspace or headed that way. So
you just needed permission.
You needed permission. You needed to see that it was possible. You needed to see that you wouldn't be crazy if you were doing it by yourself and everybody else around you are all like following the life script. But there are some women who are serious about 4B. There are some women who are not, but it doesn't matter what other women are doing. Remember, you would be doing this for yourself. And if you also find out that, nah, I'm not going to be able to go the rest of my life and not have sex, fuck that. That's fine too. Like, you know, if you say, I don't want to get married, but I just want to entertain a man here or there, like whenever, you don't have to necessarily be in 4B, but you can still support the women who are in it. Wherever you fall in your own individual journey, if you want to support 4B, you still can support it.
And it's kind of decenters men if you're like, you know, like you don't have to not have sex with men, or you don't have to like not engage with men whatsoever in order to decenter them.
Right.
Like, for example, we have a silent partner on this podcast who's our producer, and yet because this is a women's podcast, he is decentered in the sense that he doesn't tell us what to say or what to cut or what, you know, all those kinds of things. Those creative decisions are left up to us. But it's like he's an ally to what we're doing, which is really cool, but he's not centered in this just because he's there. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. And even though he doesn't really give his input, we still liked it. We still like it and respect it. Just to let him know.
Yeah.
I'll still come to him every now and then and be like, hey, Ryan, what do you think about this?
Yeah, right. But yeah, he would never like force that opinion. Or like if you were like, oh, I would like to sleep with you, but I don't want to have a relationship with you. It's like, you're not centering that man then, right? You're just centering your own pleasure. Like, I don't know. Like, that's how I think about it.
I agree. And one more thing really quickly. A lot of women are confused about the fact that women can decenter men while being married or while being in a relationship.
Yeah.
And I want women to know this. Decentering men doesn't mean you hate men, to hell with men, off with their heads. No, it just means they are not the center of your life. You have hobbies, you have family, you have friends, you have a career, whatever. You have a life outside of this man. And you don't put his opinion and what he wants above your own. Or how am I saying that? You're not putting his needs above your own necessarily. You may do it here and there, but he's not the most important character in your story. You are. And so that's how you're able to decenter men and still be in a relationship.
Yep. It's that simple, I promise. So I want to address the part of their question that says, how can we filter out the pick-me girls so they don't sneak into our spaces? And just to say that we will never have to worry about that. Pick-me women are male-centered. So when they are allergic to like women-centered spaces. They're like,
Absolutely.
where are the men? Like, when are we going to go to the club? Like, when are we going to do this? Not that going to the club is bad, but you know, it's there's no danger. You're not in danger.
They won't be able, in my opinion, they won't be able to hide that they're not.
Yeah.
If they are male centered, they won't be able to hide it because it reeks from it. Like it comes out of their pores. They smell of like desperation and needing male validation and things that they say. You know, they'll, even if you guys sat around and bashed men for 2 hours and then they turn around and was like, let's go to the club, like you said, or let me call this dude back and see. Like, you could just tell. Like, you literally will be able to tell because everything that they talk about, it would either be bashing men or it'll be something to do with, I got that cute little outfit on, and the men gonna be like, oh, they're gonna be looking at me. Like, they literally will not be able to hide that they're pick-me's.
And there's actually like one simple sentence that you can just listen for in conversations with them. It's just, it'll be like, you'll be having a conversation and you'll be talking about women's issues or like whatever you've had to deal with as a woman. And they'll just come forward and be like, well, women are just as bad as men too.
God.
Or,
oh my God.
Yeah. They'll just be comparing and call it a gender war or something like that. You'll just be talking about the rape and misogyny or like the femicide rates and all that. And they'll be like, but women are just as bad. And you're like, bro, how?
Yes, that's a pick me.
You can just vet them that way. Honestly, you can probably just start vetting your friends just.
Seriously. I
just
guarantee you
listening.
that the vast majority of your friends, whoever you are, wherever you are, the vast majority of them are most likely going to be pick-me. Now, there are such thing as recovering pick-me's. Women who used to be a pick-me and they realize their pick-me ways and they're like, I don't want to be this woman anymore, or I'm decentering men now, I've moved on. Those women exist.
Yeah.
But for the most part, most women are either centering men or they're not centering men. There is an in-between. I'm not saying there's no in-between, but you will be able to tell.
They're not going to come into our spaces and feel comfortable in our spaces until they have decentered men. Let's just say that. Like, they're going to have a problem with everything we say until they have completely understood what the fuck is going on. Well, thank you so much to our anonymous mailbag question from the UK. We really appreciate you. And to wrap up our second episode, we have a recommendation from Joyce.
Yeah, this one was like a Schoolhouse Rock style video, which I found to be funny but also entertaining. It outlines the main key points in Project 2025. For those of you who are not interested in reading the entire 900 pages, because most people are not, you can get basically the Cliff Notes version in this almost 5-minute video. And it outlines like the most important pressing things like women's rights and the Department of Education and the tariffs and things like that. I'm kind of a visual person. I'm a visual and audio learner. So I would rather watch a video than to read a 900-page manifesto or whatever you're going to call it.
I think a lot of us would. Thank you so much. That's such a good resource. Yeah.
Yeah. And the Midas Touch is a YouTube channel that I just came across within the last couple weeks. And he has a lot of fuck around and find out segments, Trump supporters that regret their decision. And it's very satisfying for those of you who might be interested in that.
We'll have it in the show notes.
So yeah, if you're looking for any kind of solace or something to make you feel better post-election, and if seeing Trump supporters start to regret their vote is something that will give you satisfaction, that would be the perfect channel on YouTube to watch. And all of his videos are good, at least to me. They're very well put together and very entertaining.
Hell yeah. Thank you so much. I'll definitely be subscribing. Sounds like Gwen's already there.
Yep, found it.
All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Sovereign, for sharing that resource with us. I'm sure a lot of us will enjoy the satisfaction of seeing people fuck around and find out. Thank you to all of our listeners. Once again, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for being here. Please mail us more questions at mailbag@sirensound.co. All of the articles, all the videos, the recommendation will be in the show notes. Please be sure to check out our Patreon if you want to just support us. We have a support tier, and we also have some tiers with fun perks for y'all. We have a VIP tier where you can vote on upcoming episodes and things that we talk about. Oh, and thank you so much to our first VIP subscriber, Vrishni. We're so excited to have you.
Yes. Shout out to you.
Thank you.
So much.
You're amazing. Thank you.
And we can't wait to get to your mailbag question in our 4th episode. So keep an eye out for that. All right. Have a good night, y'all.
Right.
Godspeed.